Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and learn how to crack the code of dense informational nonfiction texts. Look, if you've ever stared at a massive block of text, felt your eyes totally glaze over, and suddenly realized you've been reading the same paragraph for 10 minutes, well, let me assure you, you are definitely not alone. Reading comprehension, especially when it comes to nonfiction, isn't just about knowing the definition of words. It's a dynamic, active process. So today, we're going to learn how to approach reading just like a master detective approaching a complex mystery. Here's our agenda for the investigation today. First, we'll tackle the nonfiction challenge. Second, we'll pack our active reading toolkit. Third, hunting the main idea. Fourth, making inferences. Fifth, decoding the author's purpose. And finally, case closed, mastery achieved.
So, let's get into Section 1, the nonfiction challenge. The suspect here? Dense informational texts.
We really have to start by acknowledging the suspect we all struggle with the most. You know the one, that dense, dry, informational nonfiction passage that just makes us completely zone out. For our focus today on Chapter 6, we're zeroing in specifically on information passages. These are the kinds of texts you're going to find in textbooks, scientific journals, or professional reports. To crack these open, we have to borrow tools from earlier in our training, like analogies, and treat reading not as some passive absorption of words, but as an active, high-stakes investigation. Imagine you're holding a magnifying glass right up to the page. You're looking for relationships between ideas, you're searching for patterns, and trying to uncover the hidden architecture of the text itself. Because think about it, if we just passively look at the words, we completely miss the real story. We absolutely need to switch our mindset to active reading. Actually, passive reading is essentially a crime of omission. It's kind of like letting your prime suspect walk right out the front door. When you just let the words wash over you without interrogating them, you're leaving vital intelligence on the table. Active reading means you're having a continuous, silent conversation with the author, questioning their claims and tracking their logic every single step of the way. Moving right along to Section 2, the Active Reading Toolkit. This is your essential gear for decoding texts. Now, you wouldn't walk into a complex crime scene completely empty-handed, right? And you shouldn't walk into a wall of nonfiction text without your gear either. The crucial point here is to use active reading techniques like analyzing the structure and physically making notes so you stay highly focused on the details. Step 1 is simply looking at how the text is built. Are there headings, bullet points? Step 2, and this is a big one, is getting physical with the text. Underline things, circle key terms, or jot down notes in the margins. This physical action actually prevents that dreaded zoning out feeling we talked about earlier. And finally, Step 3 is maintaining relentless focus on uncovering the main idea. Every single detail should connect back to that central core. That brings us to Section 3, hunting for the main idea. What exactly is the text hiding? Finding the main idea is really about looking past the raw data and asking yourself, what is the heart of what the writer is trying to say here? Let's look at a practice passage detailing a home energy audit, which tells us how to locate structural flaws and find practical solutions to lower energy costs. This text from Chapter 6 is incredibly practical. It's throwing information at you about checking for construction flaws, analyzing heat distribution, and identifying exactly why your utility bills might be so high. It's your classic, by-the-book, informational nonfiction. From this passage, we can extract an explicit fact to pin right up on our evidence board. Using fluorescent bulbs can save you 50% on lighting costs. It is right there, explicitly stated in the text. Explicit facts are the bedrock of reading comprehension. They're basically the easiest clues to spot, because the author literally hands them to you. But a great investigator doesn't just stop at the obvious facts, do they? So, let's step it up in Section 4, making powerful inferences. It's time to start reading between the lines. All right, we've mastered the facts, but now we must slow down and transition to the most critical, nuanced part of the lesson, the special skill of making inferences. This is where you elevate from being a basic reader to a true comprehension detective. You have to ask yourself what conclusions can be drawn from the evidence presented in the story. Remember, an inference is not a wild guess, not at all. It's a highly educated, logical deduction based strictly on the clues the author has provided. Think of it like math with words. If the author gives you point A and point B, it's your job to draw the line that connects them to point C. This transition from basic reading to advanced detective work relies entirely on uncovering implicit ideas. If a passage says John was late, well, that's explicit. But if the passage says John sprinted toward the bus stop, desperately checking his watch while sweat dripped down his face, the author is implicitly telling you he's late. You have to infer it. That realization right there, that is the absolute core of cracking the nonfiction code. Let's practice this on a second crime scene from Chapter 6, which discusses indoor air quality and houseplants. On the surface, this might just look like a dry botanical article about ferns. But remember, we're investigators now, and we are hunting for that implicit meaning. The text talks about how synthetic building materials release toxic chemicals, causing multiple chemical sensitivity. Then, out of nowhere, it drops a clue about NASA conducting research on houseplants. Now, the text doesn't explicitly scream, "Go buy a plant to cure your allergies," but by connecting these specific clues about harmful chemicals and NASA research, we can successfully infer that certain houseplants actively purify the home. See how that works? Finding the implicit meaning might just save you from buying a really expensive air purifier. Which brings us to Section 5, decoding the author's purpose. Let's discover the motive. Every crime has a motive. And trust me, every passage has a purpose. Authors don't just accidentally drop words onto a page. They have an agenda. They have a specific goal they want to achieve with you, the reader. Your job as an investigator is to look at the evidence board and figure out which of these 4 specific goals the author had in mind. Are they simply trying to inform you with objective data? Are they trying to entertain you? Perhaps they're trying to alert you to a hidden danger, like this toxic chemicals in your home we just talked about. Or maybe they are trying to persuade you to adopt a totally new viewpoint. During your Socratic interrogation of the text, you must actively ask yourself, what is the author's motive? If you can figure out exactly why the author wrote the piece in the first place, you'll have a massive advantage in understanding what they're actually saying. It acts like a master key that unlocks the underlying meaning of the whole text. You also need to interrogate the tone by asking, is the author's attitude positive, negative, or completely objective? In Chapter 6, dealing with nonfiction informational texts, you will very often encounter a highly objective, academic tone. But sometimes an author's bias will slip through. Determining their attitude will help you separate hard facts from the author's personal opinions. And finally, what clues can we deduce from the individual words chosen to support the writer's intent? Word choice is absolutely everything. Does the author use words like catastrophic and devastating, or do they use words like unfortunate and suboptimal? The intensity of the vocabulary gives you a psychological profile of the author and points directly to their true purpose. All right, Section 6, case closed, mastery achieved. It's time to solve the comprehension mystery once and for all. We've gathered our tools, we've interrogated the text, and now you have the mindset of an active investigator. You are ready to tackle the most intimidating walls of informational text. To truly close the case on Chapter 6's dense materials, we rely on a grand unified theory of reading. Context clues help you figure out what unknown technical words mean based on surrounding evidence. Analogies help you understand how those complex ideas relate to one another. Combine those foundational tools with our new active reading techniques, and boom, you achieve complete comprehension mastery. As the source material reminds us, mastering these nonfiction passages is an absolutely vital skill for students and professionals facing standardized tests today. But, beyond just passing a test, it's really about navigating our modern, information-heavy world. We are bombarded with dense articles, reports, and data every single day. Being able to dissect them efficiently, that is a modern superpower. So I want to leave you with this final thought. The next time you face a dense wall of text, ask yourself, will you be a passive witness, just letting the facts slip by, or an active investigator uncovering the truth? Grab your toolkit, make those powerful inferences, and crack the code. Keep investigating, and I'll see you in the next explainer.